This is Off the Grid. We're here on Xbox Series X taking a look at the early access for the game. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So this was something where I wasn't sure about like the NDA element of it, but I checked out their Discord thing and the community manager said it's good to go as long as you're doing a capture card thing, so I was like, oh, okay. Let's dive and take a look at this. It's basically a Battle Royale extraction shooter with looting, and yeah, it's kind of intriguing. And again, this is, you know, through the Xbox Insider program, so it is something that is definitely a work in progress. It's something that is being worked on and being tested. It's got some really interesting next-gen visuals, as to say. Performance could use a little bit of work, but again, that's why they're working on it, and it's something that's a work in progress. But mechanics-wise, it's kind of interesting. Like, I think the looter kind of extraction shooter thing is that thing everybody keeps talking about being that next big genre. I don't know, I feel like that's a lot of industry people saying that, but it is kind of unique, and it's one of those games that I think a lot of people will be kind of interested in gameplay-wise, and it's kind of cool to take a look at it and kind of showcase it off, because again, from a visual standpoint, I do find it to be rather fascinating and something that is a little different to play. So you make your own little character, you got like robotic stuff going on, and I guess that's because if you know of Neil Blomkamp, who's a director, he's, I guess, come in and basically given some feedback or thoughts on this, I guess, in terms of the environment. So he did like District 9, Elysium, so that kind of, I guess you would say, style of, you know, play, and that is kind of the baseline for the environment and what we have here. So on the Series X, it is a 4K resolution. It's definitely dynamic resolution scaling with some technology being like upscaling going on there. But it is also kind of interesting from the perspective of it's currently 60 FPS. Like there's a FPS tracker in the top right there, FPS counter, and in the main menu, you have options where you can uncap the frame rate, which is what I actually have it set to. Like, there's a few different frame rate type selections you can make, but it seems like regardless, it just runs at 60 FPS at the current point in time. But you will have drops sometimes into like, you know, like 40s or so. But a lot of the time, it does actually seem to keep at about 60 FPS. So not too bad. Obviously, some work for them to do, but you know, again, it's not like this is fully available for people, right? It's a preview thing. And spatial sound support, Dolby Atmos support. It's kind of intriguing from a gameplay perspective and just like a tech perspective. It's always neat to see these types of games. And since you're like cybernetic, or like I guess since they're embracing the cyberpunk of it all, you have these, I guess you would say, like cybernetic limbs, and then you can adjust those limbs with items that you find within the environment. So my character, for example, cybernetic legs, but my like right arm does goo, so I can like shoot a thing of goo down. So that's kind of cool gameplay wise. I'm still honestly quite getting used to the, I guess you would say, style of this and the focus of it, because like you can kind of die and respawn, but you don't want your squad to get wiped. And then there are elements of you're supposed to be going and looting. So like our goal should be to go and like go to these boxes, for example, and collect these things, and that's the idea of it, is you're supposed to be like working towards getting loot and stuff, and like you can die pretty quickly. How did we lose this guy? That doesn't seem possible. Did he hide in a bush or something? Did we kill him? That's so weird. Did he actually get away from us? Oh no, it looks like he's dead here in the bush. Alright. So, yeah, anyways. And then, like, so you augment yourself, and then you battle others, and you try to gather loot and resources. And it's interesting, because, like, quite a lot of it is sort of a bit easygoing and a little slower and quieter in pacing. But I guess that's most Battle Royales, right? Where there's, like, the dead space, and then you get pushed inwards via the giant cloud ambience. And, you know, the map itself is pretty large, and it's got, like, a great level of detail. Again, like, visually, it's quite impressive. So the total player count, for the store at least, is supposed to go up to like 150 or something for a lobby, but it seems like our lobbies are about 45 players. From what I was kind of testing, it seems like that is the usual kind of player count that you get, and I would imagine that's probably in flux and being adjusted, and you know, might be a little different. But yeah, you get a range of different ability things. So there's that invis. I had one, like in a previous match, I had one where you basically get to shoot rockets. And that was like a leg type ability, which was kind of neat. So the idea of this is kind of interesting gameplay wise. Like, I don't mind more Battle Royale type things, especially if they're trying to do something a little bit different with it. I think that's totally cool, and I know we're not exactly gathering items here at the current point in time, so that's not the best strategy, but you know, whatever. I guess we've survived, and that's all that really matters, right? Is we make it more inwards and kind of show you the progression of things. And then I do like the, I guess you would say, like, look at the characters. You do actually get to personalize your character. Like, you do get to choose how they look and stuff like that. And then during the matches, you get that sense of character progression, as to say, as you make your character look a little bit cooler with different arm type things. I think this was the mortar thing. Yeah, this is what I had last match, where you could, like, shoot a bunch of mortars. But it makes yourself, like, really vulnerable, right? Because you're, like, setting that up, and then other people are basically, you know, basically just shooting you while you're sitting there, which is kind of neat. I don't know, like, I'm intrigued by this. I would put it that way. I still don't know if I fully quite get it, gameplay-wise, but I will say that I am kind of intrigued by the gameplay concept of it. Yeah, survive, loot, dominate is kind of their thing. They're going for that, like, high-octane excitement kind of thing where people come in, they do streaming of it, videos of it. I quite get what they're trying to do with this one. It's interesting. Shoots proximity mines. That might actually be a bit better for me than just two goo arms. And I would say the biggest thing they have going for this one for sure is, like, it is kind of like a high-polished visual, high-fidelity experience, like the assets and everything like that. Again, as I was saying, look very current-gen gameplay-wise. Like, I think this is actually, like, a pretty good-looking game. And I think it offers something that is different while still being familiar. And it does seem to have, like, a good amount of density to it.
Let's check this.
I don't know how well it shows up from a, I guess you would say, video watching perspective, but, like, it is a lot blurrier and stuff in the further distance, and that's mostly just the resolution scaling, I would imagine. But, like, you can climb to different buildings, and there's, you know, enemies doing stuff, and they just jump right straight down. They don't even care. Okay, well, that looked kind of cool.
Let's check this area out.
You see enemies fighting on different levels. That's kind of cool. Just the scope of it. You can also switch shoulders very easily, which is kind of neat. Yeah, definitely, like, a great sense of combative skill to it. And I think if you had enough players kind of going off against each other, you could really have some dynamic fights going on. It's like our player kind of left. I just did, like, a big nosedive down. That's kind of funny. I guess I could have shot the rocket legs over there. Razgul's over there. Whitman's over there. There's a drone thing. There's like a lot kind of going on in this one. It just also almost feels like we're not really combatively pushing against one another. So I do have that stuff. Cosmetic. Okay. I have the adrenaline shots. Trying to think of the best way to like use all this stuff. There's certainly like, I will say, quite a lot of like scale and stuff to it. Like it almost feels overwhelming trying to get a grasp of the different like little mechanic elements of it. And it does a really good job of letting you know sound-wise and pointer-wise, like when people are dying and stuff like that, and your teams are kind of like falling apart, and kind of interesting. Like again, that's the biggest thing, is I do kind of find this intriguing gameplay-wise. That was a waste of goo. I see some invis dudes down there. Trying to also think about like what my teammates are doing. It is also interesting because you kind of like, you hold down the start button, that's how you get to your stuff. And that's where I was mentioning the frame rate option. Oh, and there's HDR output as well. I forgot to mention HDR.
Let's move there.
You got all these different control settings. So like the game gives you a lot of different like adjustment things you can make, which are cool. And I'm mostly trying to think about camera pinging, cycling, aiming down sights, quick melee. Yeah. What are my teammates going on? Whitman's fighting over there. I don't know about this one. It's interesting.
Launch area obstructed.
I definitely will say that. I am fascinated by the gameplay styling of this one. It's very Battle Royale, you know, we've seen a lot of those, but it's different too on top of that. I think it's somewhat impressive. I love the little weird flying thing as you go down buildings. Like, they definitely make it so traversal, like, is both easy, but also, like, an edge of challenge to traversing the environment.
Enemy cyberlimb has revealed your position.
Well, I don't like that one bit. That guy's like dead over there. Well, he's injured. And then the zone's moving in. This is when the fun begins, I guess. Doesn't hurt to reload.
Leave the high power zone immediately. Armor plates complete. Injury detected.
It's also a little bit hard to know
Not detected.
how you're getting damaged, if that makes sense, because
Hex detected within team.
I guess I had money, I could have maybe brought back my teammate. Like, it's kind of like you don't really feel the vibration of getting shot at. Like, as I said though, it's all early access. I'm mostly trying to
Enemy in their squad.
show off like gameplay and stuff. I don't know, I feel very overwhelmed by the different mechanic stuff, and it's like, it's a little different gameplay wise.
Teammate has secured
King
Hex
closest terminal. Interesting, okay. It's like pinging an area outside of an area, which isn't gonna help anybody. It seems like our teammate really knows what he's doing. Let's see if he can actually pull this off. Wow, a double down, and then he gets back up, okay. Well, I gotta say, our teammate there, he was really carrying us. Let's jump into the next match here.
data transfer. Leave the area.
Oh. That's kind of funny.
Completed. Proceed to the next target.
So we jumped into another match here, and we're just a little bit into it. Looting-wise, I thought I'd gather some items. There's like a bit of a red hue around the outside of my screen. I'm assuming that's because something in the preview round kind of carried over. So, yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. Again, it is a early access game, so kind of expected when these things happen. There we go. There's some action for us.
Hostile zeros over there.
It looks like there's multiple groups here fighting off against one another. That's kind of funny. Oh, I actually got caught outside the zone. That's not good. Everybody's dying.
Eliminated by enemy.
Run, teammate, run. I give up.
Death
Ugh.
detected. Initiating system shutdown.
I had it coming. Well, hopefully our teammate can survive. Yeah, we got like a 30-second respawn. That's not too bad. We just lose the loot and stuff, which isn't ideal. Mostly because, you know, it's nice to have items that are actually helpful and have some level of loot rarity and quality to them. I wonder if that's going to fix the red bars on the outside of the screen. That would be incredibly helpful, because it does block quite a bit of your vision. Oh, there we go. It does fix it. Nice.
Redeployment successful.
Okay. Land on a roof. Hopefully we can find some loot. They give you like a basic gun, so I guess that's not too bad. It's just like a, yeah, it's a machine gun thing. Okay, good. Huh. I find like the actual looting of stuff, like key looting things, almost seems like less of a focus as opposed to, you know, just kind of shooting and battle royaling each other. I don't know about this one. I believe I've said that a couple times, but I really am just kind of still trying to get a feel for it. I really don't know either way how I feel about this. It's nice to have an actual scope, I suppose. Get to run into the zone a bit. I guess if you had better movement legs and stuff like that, it could make a colossal difference in terms of how effective you are against the opposing players and how you can actually get to different areas with better verticality and things like that. I think from a visual standpoint, it's really, really quite cool. Like, it does nail that director there, Blumkam's style, if that makes sense, like his sort of world look. It's interesting that that's what they kind of wanted, was that sort of partnership for world and environment, because they definitely got that. And you know, these types of games, they're always looking for good tie-in integrations, and it just makes sense, right? I would love a better gun, but I don't know if we're gonna come across that thing. Like, the zones getting tighter. I do love that there's such a difference too in the environments. You go from like this industrial place to a area that's clearly under construction,
Let's check this area out.
and then there's like the high-end luxury spot. Gives every selection a little bit of a unique vibe and feeling to it.
Grid overload is imminent.
You do move through the environment at a decent pace as well, which is good. Definitely a lot more action this time. A lot more action. Fires explosive darts. I'll take that arm.
Fury arm is
It's kind of weird, like, looting arms. Oh, grappling hooks. Nice. That's fun. Grappling hooks are enjoyable. Yeah, I've got a lot of games that do the grappling hook thing nowadays. Oh, looks like there's some enemies over there. It's weird because it kind of like reminds me of the movement from Anthem, which is hilarious. Maybe that's what Anthem should have done, is pivoted into a Battle Royale, eh? Haha.
this one. Wounded teammate detected. Alert. You are losing blood.